Hey, what is up guys? This is Nishi from MST.TV here, back with another Market Watch episode. Today we're actually going to take a look at a few cards that have historically been fairly cheap, but have spiked in price recently or are starting to trend upwards. Now, if you guys didn't know, I love cards like this. I always find it fun to go diving through bulk to see what little gems you can find and pick up at some cheap prices. Now, these cards aren't going to shoot up to $50 or something crazy like that out of nowhere, but when you can pick up a dozen cards at 25 cents each and then sell them at $5 a piece, that's a pretty decent chunk of profit that you're making there. So yeah, let's jump right into today's episode. Okay, so kicking things off, we have Resonance Insect. So one of the decks that has been seeing a huge spike in popularity recently is the Bee Trooper deck. The deck did see one top kind of randomly. I think a lot of people are looking to have the key cards together, especially if the deck gets additional TCG exclusive support in the upcoming set Burst of Destiny. Anyways, last week we took a look at Multiplication of Ants, but there are actually a ton of different cards that are trending upwards in price because they are potentially useful in that strategy. Resonance Insect is one important piece of the strategy, allowing you to search for a level 5 or higher insect if it is sent from the field to the graveyard. Typically, you're searching out Doomdozer, and then if you banish Resonance Insect to summon Doomdozer, you get Resonance Insect's other effect to dump an insect from your deck to the graveyard, allowing you to dump Gokapol and then search for and special summon the Shiny Black Sea Squatter to pop a card on the field. Now, this does seem kind of specific, but I guess it is kind of a cool combo and gets monsters onto the field as link fodder, so it's certainly interesting. Obviously, we don't know just how strong the deck really is right now, but I think a lot of people are hoping that the deck will be even stronger than it already is in just a couple of months. Anyways, Resonance Insect only has one common printing currently from the Duelist Alliance set. Now, Duelist Alliance was an amazing set that a lot of people tore open, but it did come out quite a long time ago, so Resonance Insect is probably a card that's going to be kind of annoying to actually find. The card was just bulk before, right? But it shot all the way up to $10 a piece before now settling back down at around $5, so it's definitely a card that is worth digging up out of your bulk if you can find some. The next card we're looking at here is Gdoarla the Mystery Dust Kaiju. This is another card that's seeing play in the same insect strategy, since you can search it out with Resonance Insect if you already have the one of Doomdozer in your hand. It is worth noting that right now Kaijus are actually really strong, allowing you to deal with cards like Herald of Perfection and Appaloosa. Obviously, Gdoarla being an insect is a big deal, since I believe there are also some extra deck monsters that lock you into insects only. Also, Gdoarla is a bit bigger than Cumulus, the other insect kaiju monster, but Gdoarla is also a wind, so if your opponent happens to be playing Barrier Statue of the Stormwinds, Gdoarla can still be an out against that deck. Now, aside from that, there's not too much to say about this card. Kaijus have popped in and out of the meta ever since their release, so it shouldn't come as a surprise to see different ones see sudden jumps in popularity every now and then. However, Gdoarla has actually only had two rare printings before, the original and then Megaton reprint, which are going to cost you anywhere from $10 to $15 each at the moment. Personally, I would expect Gdoarla to be given a similar treatment to Gameciel and Jizukiru and some of the other kaijus, and get a super rare upgrade in one of the next couple OTS tournament packs. It just kind of seems to fit the pattern. Until then, do keep in mind that for now, Gdoarla is just a one of in the insect deck, and with a very probable reprint coming up in the near future, it might be a good idea to unload your extra copies while they are so expensive. Next up, Retaliating Sea is a card that has seen play in multiple formats in the past and is once again starting to creep up into the meta. This card was extremely popular back when the Shaddoll structure deck first came out, as you could drop Retaliating Sea in response to Shaddoll Fusion. This card banishes any card that would have been sent to the graveyard if it was summoned by this effect, which is really cool because it basically prevents Shaddoll monsters from activating their effects since they need to go to the graveyard. Now, in the current format, we're not seeing a ton of Shaddolls running around, but they do exist, and Retaliating Sea can also be useful against prank kids for when they use their fusion spells as well. Also worth noting is that if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you get to search for an Earth insect monster with 1500 attack points or less, meaning that you can search for Contact Sea, another hand trap that has proven fairly popular this format. I don't know exactly how popular Retaliating Sea is going to be, but as a hand trap that feels more like a situational dimension shifter that can be live at any point in the game, it's a card that's probably worth paying attention to. Now, the card has a few different printings, but there is only one holo version, the super rare from OTS Tournament Pack 4, which is currently an $8 card. The card does have two common printings as well, but even those are going to cost you about $3 to $4 each. Personally, I don't think that this card is that great right now. I think it's decent and has some potential, but there are lots of other side deck cards that are just better at the moment. However, I do also think that the card does have a ton of potential moving forward. If it doesn't see a reprint, it's only a matter of time before it does see another price spike, but I could also see it getting that extra holo reprint in something like Brothers of Legend, which would bring the price back down. Either way, it's worth noting that even the common versions of this card are worth a few bucks, so this is definitely something to dig up out of your bulk and offload if you can. Okay, so this is just a really random one that kind of came out of nowhere. We have Junk Archer. This is a level 7 synchro monster that can only be made if the tuner is Junk Synchron. This card isn't a new combo extender or anything necessarily. It is played because of the new card Synchro Overtake, which was just released in Dawn of Majesty. It lets you search for Junk Synchron, but in order to do so, you have to reveal a synchro monster from your extra deck that specifically states that card's name, and Junk Archer is the most potentially useful card that you can reveal from your extra deck that has Junk Synchron in its text. Realistically, you aren't going into this card very often, but it does let you banish an opponent's monster for a turn, so maybe you could get rid of a big body to attack for damage, or an Xyz monster that has Xyz materials to get them off or something like that if you really needed to. Now, unfortunately, Junk Archer only has 2 printings available, as an ultra rare from a duelist pack and then as a super rare from Legendary Collection 5Ds, so either version is probably going to be quite difficult to find, with the last time that this card was printed being way back in 2014, and as a result, either copy of this card is going to cost you around $20. I guess it is possible that some people want the card to be played in older formats as well. I think that would be more of a side thing, not as relevant or impactful. Anyways, I don't think that Synchrons are going to be too meta relevant moving forward, but I do know that Team Samurai X1 featured a deck profile and combo video on his channel that definitely drove some interest in the deck, so that's probably a big contributing factor there. But yeah, if you happen to be sitting on this card from a while ago and have it sitting in an old binder or anything like that, now is definitely the time to consider offloading it before it inevitably gets reprinted. Moving on, the next card we have here is Rivalry of Warlords. So shout out to Darren here, who actually told me about this card a few days before everyone started talking about it. But Rivalry of Warlords is emerging as an extremely popular floodgate card this format. In particular, it's useful against decks like Tri-Brigade and Prank Kids, preventing them from going into a lot of their different extra deck monsters, since they play monsters of multiple different types. In fact, I think you could arguably play this in a main deck if you're playing something that's maybe a little bit slower or control oriented, or something that just plays entirely one type of monster. It's worth noting that this card can be useful going first or second, right? Though obviously it's ideal if you're going first, since you can use this card to force your opponent to get rid of monsters on their field until they only have one type of monster remaining, which is really, really awesome. Anyways, this card just happened to get a collector's rare printing in King's Court, which is obviously the card's highest rarity, up at around $75 to $80 a piece at the moment. The card has one other holo printing available, a super rare version from Hidden Summoners, which is around $3 to $4 each. The card has several different lower rarity printings, all of which I think are around a couple of dollars, but if you're looking to just pick up a cheap copy for yourself to play with, keep in mind that there's still a rare version printed in King's Court as well that you should still be able to grab for under $1. I don't think that Rivalry is going to be the next Gamma or anything like that, especially because it has so many printings, but it's still a card that I would try to set aside when you're going through bulk and use as trade bait to pick up cards here and there, because it's the type of card that is always going to be in demand as it rotates in and out of formats. So another floodgate card here, let's take a look at Summon Limit. This is another card that is starting to pick up some popularity this format, as it's really effective against a lot of meta decks. Obviously, it's most useful in slower decks that are trying to go first, maybe something like Altergeist or Subterrors, though they haven't really been all that popular recently. I think that realistically, actually, Summon Limit is more of a tool to help rogue or tier 2 strategies compete with tier 1 decks. I haven't seen the card being used in very many topping successful deck lists within the last little while, but that doesn't mean that the card doesn't have applications against meta strategies. Anyways, Summon Limit has 3 different printings out, a common version from Light of Destruction, which is about $5 to $6, an ultra rare version from Battles of Legend Heroes Revenge, which is around $10, and then the Duelist League colored rares, which are anywhere from $15 to $20 a piece, though obviously there's quite few quantities on TCG Player at the moment. Now, to be fair, despite multiple versions being available, the card is not the easiest to find. I think it was short printed compared to other ultra rares in Battles of Legend, and the common printing came out quite a few years ago, so any version of the card that you want to pick up to use is going to cost you a few dollars. Hopefully this card will get a reprint in one of the many upcoming reprint sets that we have in the last few months of 2021. Alright guys, the last card I want to make note of here is Titanoclad the Ash Dragon. So this card has seen a decent amount of play since its release, being a staple for strategies running the Dogmatica engine. You can dump this card with Maximus or Punishment or Nadir Servant to summon an Ecclesia during the end phase and get a free search. So obviously the package being as strong as it is, and having seen a ton of play over the last few formats, it goes without saying that the card has its uses and applications. However, this card actually saw an unexpected price jump between 1 and 2 weeks ago. It has historically been between $10 to $12. It saw a big jump up to $25 to $30 before now settling at around $18 to $20 a piece. The price jump is surprising, especially considering that we have the 2021 Megatins set to be released in just about a month, and we are expecting the entire Dogmatica engine, including Titanoclad, to be reprinted in that set. The timing for this card's price jump doesn't really make sense unless some people really wanted to play Dogmatica cards over the next month at their locals or some sort of event. Or maybe the contents of the Megatins got leaked somewhere and someone knows that Titanoclad isn't going to be included, which would actually be pretty funny. Good on them if you do know about it. Anyways, until we have any sort of confirmation otherwise, I do think that the smart thing to do is assume that Titanoclad is going to be reprinted in the upcoming Megatins and take advantage of the price jump to offload yours now so that you can buy them back at a much lower price in just about a month or so. Okay guys, that is it for today's episode. There were definitely some pretty random movements that we saw on the market this week. Nothing too big or too crazy, but of course lots of hype is gradually going to build up moving forward as we move closer to the release of the 2021 Megatins, Brothers of Legend, Burst of Destiny, and Maximum Gold El Dorado. Anyways guys, if you did enjoy today's Market Watch, please make sure that you hit that thumbs up button for me and let me know. Also, make sure you leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what you guys think about the cards that we talked about today. And also let me know what other cards are trending on the market so I can potentially cover them in a future Market Watch episode to keep everyone informed. Also, if you haven't already, make sure that you do hit that subscribe button to get all of the latest and greatest content from both Tombox and myself. And until next time, guys, don't forget to hold on to your MST.TV.